Lana Auerbach. I'm ex-VP of programs for the last year. And this is my last gig to do this Lenart lunch. We did it last year, and we had a little bit different format. We had a lot of responses. We had a little bit different format. But this year, we figured out that UCLA has so many people with so much knowledge that we can really need to utilize it. And we should utilize it. So this year we decided to use our own, Ishara Bayless and Monica Moore, and let them introduce themselves. They work for UCLA, and they have a lot of information about the care of elderly or sick people. So without further ado, Ishara and Monica.
Hi, my name's Ishara Bayless, and I'm a gerontologist and social worker by background. I work for UCLA Health in the marketing department and also head up the UCLA Health 50 Plus program. My information is here. It actually should be I Bayless. The capitalized is funny. So feel free always to contact me via email or calling. If beyond today you have other questions, and we could connect you to different resources in the community.
Good afternoon, my name is Monica Moore. I am the Community Health Program Manager for the Mary S. Easton Center for Alzheimer's Disease Research here at UCLA. And part of my role is to do presentations such as this and to do outreach to the community to let you know of resources that are available, especially focusing on caregivers of people with Alzheimer's and dementia. So our presentation this afternoon is, as you can see, entitled A Caregiver's Toolbox. We came up with that name because it takes so much to be a caregiver. There's so many things that are required of you, and so we want to teach you that each toolbox, all of your situations are unique. And so what you put in that toolbox is different. Just like a plumber's toolbox is going to be different than a carpenter's toolbox. There's still toolboxes, and there's still people of a trade, but it's different. So that's what we're trying to do. We're not going to give you any direct, this is who you should call, because that's not the situation here. We just want to try to give you the information that will help you focus on finding what is right for you and your individual situation. First of all, can everyone hear okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. We're both fairly loud anyways, so I think we should be good on that. Okay. So the first thing that we want to talk about today is assessments. An assessment is helps you see what you need. You can do it. Everyone here, if you're caring for somebody, you have done an assessment at one point. You look at mom's situation and you think, okay, well, this is what mom's deficits are. This is what I feel that we need help as a family. And the question is, how do the results of these assessments affect you? We're going to talk a little bit more about the assessments, about who does the assessments, actual professionals, but also knowing friends and family do these assessments as well. They identify the problems and concerns. There are lots of times, as Shar and I both have received phone calls where someone says, well, my mom needs help. Okay, with what? That's such a large, it's such an open statement. My mom needs help. Okay, well, how, with what? What kinds of needs does she have? This allows the family members to know what services are available. Because if we're looking at professional services, there are ones that fit every different need. Living here in Los Angeles, there are so many different resources available to you as a caregiver, but you also want to find the right one, because some are fabulous, some may not be and they may not be the ones that fit your needs specifically. Sorry, okay, here. For who can perform these assessments? Like we said, family members and friends, you all have done them. You've done them with your mom, you've done them with your neighbor, you've done them with your spouse. You know what people need. So you're looking at who are you going to call? What kind of help do they need? Mom needs help. Does mom need help with meals? All right, well then we need to find somebody who can come in and can help with that. Here we have a list of the professionals who do the assessments. Geriatric care managers, physical or occupational therapists, doctors, nurses, they are definitely good front-line assessments. Pharmacists are good people for assessments. We don't think of them too often as a resource, but they ultimately are a very good resource. Lawyers, social workers, psychologists. And so we look at the types of assessments that do exist. Psychological and social. In that we're thinking, is mom just isolated? Is that where mom needs help? So do we need to look at finding her activities to do? Is there a larger medical problem? Is there an underlying medical problem here that needs to be addressed? Does she need more of legal or financial assessments, financial help? We've heard time and time again, mom and dad had their nest egg, they had it set up, dad passed away, mom had no clue what to do with it. Mom had no clue where it was. Mom didn't know who to call. So we need to find these professionals to come in and to be able to help, to give you at least a starting point so you can find what's next, where to go, and who you can talk to. Safety assessments, especially with seniors. What's the most dangerous room in a home? Bathroom. And you just think, how many times have you sort of slipped in the shower? You grab a hold of the shower bar, the towel rack, and luckily you're able to steady yourself, but some people can't. Safety assessments, rugs, lots of those things that are in our homes that we have learned how to work around, but once there's some sort of physical disability, something that's slowing a person down, is when a safety assessment may come in. We're going to pass it over to Ishara here to talk a little bit more in-depthly about the different types of assessments.
So as Monica was saying, what's real important and why we start with assessments and really go into it is you need to really figure out what's going on before you try to find the resources. We had in the outside area, we brought a lot of different literature, resource guides, information about different community agencies. But to just jump in and say, okay, we're going to have this happen, when it might be really there's some underlying issues that are going on, and that's why having professionals, not only in addition to family or friends, assessing a person's situation to get somebody the right help and not make assumptions. So when we look at psychosocial assessments, this is really to see how is the person functioning within their environment. Do they have contacts with family, with friends, with neighbors? Are they very isolated? Often a geriatric care manager is the one who goes in, really does a very thorough assessment for the person. What's their health status? It's not doing a medical review, but it's really getting a sense of what they're able to do or not do. A lot of what we look at when we look at psychological and social assessments are to look at what's called ADL, activities of daily living, or IADL, which are the instrumental activities of daily living. Is the person able to get out of bed or not get out of bed? Are they able to go from a chair to standing? Are they able to take care of their own grooming, toileting, preparing meals, going shopping? Something I remember when my dad moved to an apartment, he couldn't use a telephone because he had a tremor. Well, my sister said he's not going to move out of our house until we figure it out. What was wonderful, we found out from the phone company, they had a system, and this is quite a while ago, he's already passed away 11 years ago, is you can get it set up where he just had to, at that time, lift up the phone, say Ishara's work, and it would connect it. So he didn't have to dial it. Something as simple as that could mean the difference, where he could stay in his own home versus having to be maybe in an institution or in a facility. So that's why really important to see what is a person able to do. The level of functioning determines what type of services are appropriate for a person. And we can't make assumptions that everybody who has dementia can only do this or that, or someone with Parkinson's. Another part of that is also the family dynamics. often, and particularly if you're not the only sibling, you find that family doesn't always agree. Issues that were around when people were growing up stay around even when the parents are now older or more frail. So that it becomes something, the family dynamics can have a big impact of what resources, what are the decisions being made, is it family mediation needed, is there someone else who's needed to come in to really help negotiate, mediate, so that the person who's being cared for gets what they need, but also the caregivers and the family members are being taken care of also. So one area is what we call psychosocial. The next is medical assessments, and I like to use my dad, I guess, as an example. When he was in crisis after my mother had passed away, and he was disengaged, he was getting up in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m., and not connecting to people he knew for like over 50 years. So people thought, oh, he must have dementia. Well, luckily my husband was able to go out. He got really appropriate medical care, and he had depression. Because the symptoms often can be the same as someone with dementia. Put on an antidepressant, it totally changed his life. So that's why I am a major advocate. You have to get the right diagnosis. You can't assume if someone is forgetting something or mixed up that it's a type of dementia that they have. It could be something, depression, it could be thyroid issues, it could be malnourishment, it could be over-medication, or maybe something else that's not been diagnosed yet. So it's very important to get the right diagnosis. What I'm always proud of, and I was working for UCLA, is we have geriatricians. These are doctors who specialize in working with older adults. Going to a doctor who says, well, what do you expect at your age? I would try to find a different doctor myself, because I think it's important not to have where people make assumptions. Good primary care doctors, internal medicine, family medicine, often have a lot of experience working with older adults and are just amazing. A person doesn't have to go to a specialist, a geriatrician. But you want a doctor who really will be looking at someone not because of their chronological age, but really about what's their level of functioning, what are they able to do, what's going on, and getting the right diagnosis and therefore the right treatments are really important. We also mentioned, and Monica mentioned about medications. An issue for older adults is often what's called polypharmacology. A person might be given lots of pills and lots of medications. Well, as we all get older, how our body metabolizes medications differs and changes, and it might be that someone needs to be really on fewer medications. To me, one of the most overlooked health professionals are pharmacists. They know how things interact, and we're not only talking prescription drugs, we're talking about vitamins, minerals, herbs, a lot of other things that could be having an impact on some of the medications. So it's really important to get a medication assessment and having that done regularly. Nutrition can make a difference, so going to a dietitian, or if someone in the doctor's office can really work with someone to make sure that someone's eating well and dealing with meals and preparation and what's happening, because a lot of times someone, if they're living alone, maybe that it's the old story of, well, I'll have just a bowl of cereal. Well, they might not be getting the nutrients they need or eating things that aren't right for them. The last few things we have mentioned, advanced healthcare directives and some end-of-life issues. In Medicare, the vast majority of money gets spent in the last 6 months of people's lives. And there's a lot of issues as a society of looking at that. And some of it is because families, individuals have not filled out different documents. One is the Advanced Healthcare Directive. Anyone over 18, and we have copies in the back if people want to take it. Anyone over 18 can fill it out. What it's there for is if someone is not able to speak for themselves. Let's say someone was in a terrible accident, someone who had a stroke and can't speak, that they already had spoken to someone called their agent to discuss what type of care they want. We can't make an assumption that what I want might be what my mother would want or things like that. So advanced healthcare directives can really make a difference of what type of care a person has. And then some other forms and programs is something where people maybe have heard of palliative care and hospice care. And palliative care is overall care where a big part of it is symptom relief and dealing with pain and making people comfortable and looking at quality of life issues. It doesn't mean a person is dying when they get palliative care. Hospice care is usually the last 6 months of life, where when someone brings in a hospice agency, it can make a difference between someone, not only the individual, but the family getting support medically, social workers, nurses, of what's needed, how to help somebody have less pain, more comfort, and really make a difference in quality of life. And just to mention, the POST form is a form for you fill out with doctors and the patient when someone is terminally ill.
Explain what POST is.
Oh, thank you. Physician orders for life-sustaining treatment. It's a bright pink form, and if you have any relatives who are really at end of life, they might have it in their charts. It might be that someone doesn't want, DNR means do not resuscitate. There's a lot of issues about when you have a 95-year-old getting CPR, there often could be more damage to the body and the person than not doing it. But unless someone has what's called a DNR statement, paramedics legally have to be doing DNR if they're at home. So there's a lot of issues for end of life that speaking to the person's doctor to see what's right for that individual can make a big difference for the individual and what the quality of their life is at the last few months or even month or weeks, as well as for the family. Thank you. Okay. Another type of assessment are legal assessments, and that really relates to, we have here estate planning, things like wills, trusts, joint accounts. How are things going to be dealt with? Let's say if someone is deemed to have dementia where they're not able to make competent decisions, who's making their financial decisions? We're not even going to be covering elder abuse, and the biggest type of elder abuse is financial. In Westside Guide, there's a good section on that, so that's something people might look at, or we could connect you if you're concerned about potential elder abuse of your relative by somebody else. But it's important to look at with estate planning. It's also what's listed here, the durable power of attorney for, oh, we didn't, this isn't our final version. Ooh. Anyway, it is called that. Thank you, that keeps us on our toes. Is that just like we have an advanced healthcare directive for the individual, this is saying if a person can't speak for themselves, who's going to pay their bills? How are finances going to be arranged? Things like that. There's also what I list here as conservatorship. There's a conservatorship over a person and over the estate. It doesn't mean that it's the same person who does it. But if a person has been deemed not capable or not competent legally, I mean, we might know people, we say, oh God, they're not capable at all, but that's not what we're talking about. We're really talking about where it's legally defined. And where it might be that a doctor is saying someone has dementia, and you see all these behaviors, and the family is trying to get a conservator over a person. Well, sometimes people have clear moments. And if in a courtroom, because I know this happened to someone who, a professional who was in the field, her mother had dementia, and because the mother at times could be very clear and focused, the judge felt that's the way she is. You don't have conservatorship over her, and she could make her own decisions. Well, it became a big, it becomes very complicated with that. So that's why it's really good before it's needed to try to be able to get a lot of legal issues. Not conservatorship, you have to wait till a person is not competent, but possibly having 2 names on an account, having the durable power of attorney for finances, all of that makes a difference. There are elder law attorneys who specialize in working on all these issues that as caregivers you're grappling with and trying to figure out, what do I do next? How do I look at this? There's also BetSedic, which is an organization that's has a lot of wonderful publications, as well as can work with people who are lower income, and Legal Aid Foundation also, for instance, they have where people can come on, I think Monday mornings at Wise and Healthy Aging with a whole legal clinic for people to say. Actually, I'm going to get to the next one in a moment, so keep moving. Another assessment is financial, is how are you paying for all this? What resources does the person have or do you have? So a big issue is there's Medi-Cal. There's actually Medi-Cal for long-term care, which is different than when we look at Medi-Cal for health services. Medi-Cal for health services are when someone's low income and low resources. People can be called what's called Medi-Medi, Medicare, Medi-Cal, and that can often have some benefits more than someone who's just Medicare. Medi-Cal for long-term care, it's when there's spouses. So let's say one spouse needs a lot of care, nobody can take care of them in the home, and they need to go to an institution, usually a skilled nursing facility. There's ways a person can apply for that so the well spouse doesn't become impoverished. Okay, there's a lot of laws and rules, and I don't know them all, so we don't have time to go into that. But it's really important to know because it's a way of preserving assets so the person who's well doesn't end up being on the streets. SSI is called Supplemental Security Income. When people qualify for it, they automatically get Medi-Cal, and that's great because it can have certain benefits. And actually related to that, even though it's not in the same order, IHSS is in-home supportive services. Again, a lot of times when a person is low income, they might qualify for a certain amount of hours where someone is coming into their home where they don't have to pay out for that. Medicare is health insurance for those of us over 65 or for people with disabilities. Basically, Medicare does not cover what's called long-term care. If you want more about Medicare, I'm doing a presentation on August 5th. I can tell you about it. Or if you have questions about Medicare. But when people are in nursing homes for long-term care, Medicare is not what's covering that. It's really important to know. Long-term care insurance, a lot of people have it, and it can be used for in-home, and we'll get more details about that, or often into a board and care, assisted living. You need to apply for that when you're well, not when you need it. But it can make a big difference to help protect a person's assets. We should also say financial assessments. A lot also is private pay. If someone is a millionaire, they'll be able to pay for whatever they need, or multimillionaire in this day and age. VA benefits, there's a lot of long-term care benefits through the VA system. And particularly the ones that we have here in West LA, Long Beach, really it's important if someone qualifies for those benefits to be able to use them. It can make a difference where someone is getting the right assistance. Or a lot of the, and we'll talk about adult day health centers and adult daycare, a lot of them accept VA benefits. And so that's something that's a way of paying for something that out of pocket a family might not have the money. Okay? Sometimes there are some discount programs for utilities, medications, and often, as I'm mentioning here, private pay where a person just pays out of pocket, long-term care insurance to pay for some of the services, or different government benefits. I also added to this, which wasn't on the slide, a whole thing of money management. It might be that if a person needs help with paying bills, making sure that they're not ousted and things like that. So those are other issues that come on board as a caregiver, and as assessments are happening, who's going to be able to help the relative or the friend with all of these financial day-to-day type things that we have to deal with. Last type of assessment is safety assessment. Monica already mentioned about this. Home modifications, getting a review by an occupational therapist or a physical therapist. Homes can become very unsafe. The statistics are great when people fall, where they were living independently, and then all of a sudden it's a real decline. We have a colleague who's in her late 80s who was running around doing all sorts of things. Over a year ago, fell. She's been in assisted living ever since because she's not back to her normal self, could never go back to her apartment, which was on the second floor. So that makes a real difference. So it's very important to look at what one needs to do to make the home as safe as possible. Driving is a big issue. If someone has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia, the doctor is responsible for contacting the DMV. How much they follow up on that, I don't know. It's a big issue about people taking away somebody's keys. This is something someone's often been doing 60, 70, 80 years. So that's an important thing. We don't want people who shouldn't be driving. I mean, let's face it, we're all affected by that. A lot of local fire and police departments have ID registrations, so you might want to check where the person lives. That can really make a difference where, let's say, we don't have snowstorms, but in a rainstorm or an earthquake, if someone is being contacted. Disaster preparedness, we do have a handout in the back, because if your family member lives on their own, well, what about if, not if, the big thing is when the big earthquake happens, or a fire, or electricity goes out, how is that person going to be able to manage, or how can you get to them? So those are important things. Two other pieces with safety, medical alert of the bracelets where it might have health conditions. If someone's on certain medications and they're found, or they go to an emergency room, maybe they don't remember, but if it's listed, that can make a difference between their health and well-being. Safe Return is a wonderful program through the Alzheimer's Association. So for someone who's been diagnosed with dementia and wanders, that having that has actually saved people's lives, where they'll be on a whole national registry, and it's something that then the police, the fire, anybody who's emergency responders will be able to hopefully find the person before they either die or something get injured. So I think that's okay. We swap around.
One other thing I just want to add about the Safe Return program too, the other part of it that they also have is an identification for the caregiver. Because let's say if you were a caregiver and you went out to the grocery store, you left your loved one at home thinking they're fine by themselves, and you got into a car accident. No one knows that there's someone at home who has dementia. So that's the other good part about that program. It's a double identification program. Because we may think that we're taking care of, oh well, mom, she's the one that needs it, but what if something happens to you? No one knows mom's at home. So that's the other part of the Safe Return program that's worth noting. So the assessments, we felt so strongly about making sure that we discuss them. We could do a full half-day seminar on assessments and really break them down and let you know what they do. But we felt that it was important key here so you can have this basic blueprint, again, so that you know what's going on, you can find out the issues that are happening, and then it puts you in the right direction of knowing where to get the resources and the help that you need. So now that our blueprint is complete, what are the tools that are needed? In-home help. You realize mom is okay at home. She doesn't need a facility, but she just needs somebody to check up on her. She needs somebody to help with laundry. So there's multiple types of in-home help. There's medical, which would be if a doctor prescribes a nurse to come in for home health care. This would be if mom has a wound on her leg from a fall. The nurse would come in, would take care of that wound, and then would leave. That's all the nurse is set to do, is to take care of the wound. The nurse can't do laundry while she's there. She can't put a few dishes in the dishwasher for mom. She can't take the towels down. She's there only for whatever is prescribed by the doctor. But that is good to get somebody through an injury. If somebody has they're just not able to take care of the wound themselves. It's like, well, you're working, so you can't take off for them, trying to figure out who would help mom with the bandage that needs to be changed 3 times a day. So there's the medical help. There's non-medical, which is provided by often a caregiving agency. Right now there's lots of new laws that have been enacted in the state of California to hopefully protect the caregivers. In terms of the work that they do, lots of people will hire caregivers off of an agency independently so that they pay a cheaper wage, but at that point you're also looking at if something happens to said caregiver, you're liable. So agencies help cover that workers' comp insurance. They help cover and protect the caregiver in case they trip and fall, in case they're in a car accident. Otherwise you can be liable as well. So we look at the different types. There's companionship, which would be if mom just needs some company. Mom doesn't get up so well. It'd be really nice if someone could bring her that glass of water that she wants, as opposed to it taking her a half hour to get up to get that glass of water. Where she's pretty independent, but still needs some assistance. Then there's household care, where they need to help with, again, the activities of daily living that Ishara mentioned. Laundry, light housekeeping, cooking meals, all of the things you do on a daily basis. And then there comes the time where there's also personal care. This would be for somebody who might be incontinent. they need assistance bathing, they essentially need the 24-hour supervision for their own safety. They could be a wander risk. They are unable to make their own meals, as opposed to they can still pull out the cereal box and do the cereal, but some people may not even have that. If they have Alzheimer's or dementia, they don't have the initiative. They don't know that they haven't eaten. They don't know that it's time to eat yet. So they need much more of that ongoing personal care. Also, nutrition, we wanted to put that on there as well. In terms of in-home health, Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels these days actually makes really good meals. Lots of people are afraid of, oh, Meals on Wheels, going to unwrap that silver box and see what's underneath that tray, the liver that's there and the oversteamed green beans. It's actually, there's good food in Meals on Wheels packets, and it's just for people who are, you don't even necessarily have to be homebound. I know that is like their designation, but you can, somebody who needs the assistance with meals, it's 2 meals, it's a hot meal and then a sandwich for dinner. And it's a really good way to be able to make sure the person is eating properly. My husband's grandmother takes Meals on Wheels back in Pennsylvania, and she goes out all the time. But she's unable to take care of things on her own, so this has been a really good lifeline. Also, the volunteers don't just ring the doorbell and drop the meals. They stop in, they bring it in, so it's also another good set of eyes to check up on mom. Just, make sure, oh, mom, we rang the doorbell at 12 and she didn't answer. And so it's a good somebody coming by. So Meals on Wheels is a great program. Also, other types of home care. It doesn't all have to be professionals. We can have home care provided by a paid caregiver, a family member, a friend in a person's home. That's what we define as home care. It could be the neighbor that knocks on mom's door. It could be the long-lost cousin who wanted to come to LA. And it's like, hey, you want to come to LA? Mom has a guest house. You can stay in mom's guest house and keep an eye on her. We'll help you out, but you also need to help us out. So this is, again, the type of in-home help, depending upon the level of need that the person that you're caring for has. And of course, payment options. We look at payment options. Everyone will always take private pay. No one will ever turn you down if you want to give them cash. But otherwise, ultimately, it comes down to the only other option really is long-term care insurance to cover non-medical home care. So Medicare will pay for the medical home care, for the home health aide to come in to take care of the wound, but that's it. The next one that we're looking at is community-based housing. So we talked about being at home, now out in the community. Different levels of care. There's independent living facilities, which if you want to think of those as the leisure worlds. Okay, they're independent living. It's you have to be over a certain age to be able to be here. They have activities. They're a good option for people if they aren't able to be home for whatever reason. Assisted living facilities. They provide meals, activities, housekeeping. I used to work at one, and this one lady moved in there, and she was very healthy. You sort of trying to figure her out, see what's wrong. There has to be a reason why she's here. And I asked her one day, I said, why are you here? Why did you decide to move in? She said, I got tired of cooking and cleaning. She said, I figured I got to a certain age that it was time for someone to cook and clean for me. And she was physically able, but they also took care of her when she had health problems. So it's a good option. The one thing with assisted living, though, that if someone has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia, sometimes families will say, we can put mom in the assisted living part. It's cheaper, and she'll be fine there. They can keep an eye on her. Well, if mom decides to walk out that door, the assisted living facility has to let her. So if someone has Alzheimer's or dementia, they need to be more in a locked unit if they are a wanderer. Otherwise, it's residence rights. I remember when I was working at this one facility, a man walked out the front door and I followed him. Just went for a walk with him. It was probably about a half hour until we could finally get him to come back, but he had every right to walk out that door. And so my job was just to make sure that he crossed the street appropriately and didn't get hit by a car. Because I had to let him go. So especially if someone has any memory problems, it's really important to learn that difference between the facilities. Skilled nursing facilities. You know, we think of nursing homes. My great-grandfather was in a nursing home when I was a small child. All I remember is being probably about this, like 8, all these people in wheelchairs reaching out and wanting to grab me, and a weird smell being in that nursing home. That's not the facilities of today. They're actually quite nice. Nursing homes are, they have been brought up to a different standard because people are expecting it. There are still facilities that are just like that one, but lots of them have changed. So that image that we have of a nursing home has changed in today's society. Payment options for essentially the top 3, you're looking at independent, you're looking at private pay. I'll get to you in a minute, I see a hand up. We'll have questions in probably about 5 minutes. Skilled nursing facility, Medicare will cover some, Medi-Cal will cover some. Still, ultimately, you're looking at private pay. Health insurance doesn't cover any of this. So Blue Shield won't cover a dime. Kaiser, no. So you need to think about it in terms of Medicare, Medi-Cal, or for the top 3, it is private pay or long-term care insurance.
What's memory unit?
Oh, sorry, memory units. That is for people who have Alzheimer's or dementia. It's more of a locked facility. It provides tailored activities for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. They will help them with feeding if they need that assistance to eat. They will help with their activities of daily living, but focus on people with memory loss. Thank you for pointing that out. So, caregiver services. Most likely, all of you came here today because this is a concern, this is something that is affecting you in your daily life. So we want to make sure that while you're finding support for the person that you're caring for, you're also finding support for yourself. There's a statistic that 50% of all caregivers will die before the person they're caring for because they don't take care of themselves. They don't go to the doctor themselves. They ignore that pain. Oh, it's fine. Oh, Mom, how long have you had that? Oh, a week, months, I don't really know. But I'm worried about your dad. So 50% of caregivers die before the person they're caring for. So we really want to make sure that you get the support that you need so that you are able to continue. Support groups, in person, of course, through the Mary S. Easton Center. We have a caregiver support here. We're just off campus on the other side of LeConte, and it meets every other Wednesday. It's meeting right now, so if you want to hightail it after here, you can go over there. It starts at 1. And that's a caregiver support group. There's also the Alzheimer's Association has a really good listing of affiliated support groups all throughout LA County. So that's a good resource for you. There's telephone support groups now as well, because not everyone's able to make it to a location. You get off work at 6, the support group starts at 6:30 on the other side of town. You can't make it. And so telephone support groups, chat rooms as well for caregivers. To find a way, again, it's a way to get your feelings and emotions out, but also to get great tools and great tricks from people where they say, oh, I've done this with my mom. It was great. This is how I figured out how to get through this challenging behavior. Oh, this is what's happening. Oh, we did this. So it's a really good way to brainstorm ideas with other people. Of course, always professional counseling and or therapy. If you need it, get it, seek it. I know there's services, Shara knows more about it, but through the, hold on, I'll get to that, I'm jumping ahead. Okay, sorry. Family mediation. All families don't work perfect. Everyone doesn't communicate the way you may want to. Daughter may say there's a problem, brother says there's no problem. Is brother right? Or is he in denial? Or is the daughter just a worrywart? You know, which one is it? Who do you listen to? But you have to get on the same page if you're caring for a parent. So family mediation is what can get you to that point. Respite care. Respite care is when you take a break. Facilities will have sometimes what they call respite beds, where it is a bed at an assisted living facility that is available for night, weeks. But so you as the caregiver can take a break. find somebody to come in to be able to help you. Get a caregiver to come in for, you know, a day where you're off. You have punched out. You say, you know, call me in case of emergency, but after you've called the doctor or the hospital. Or, you know, you take that break, which is really important for the caregiver so that you don't become that other part of the statistic. Caregiver trainings. I know Wise and Healthy Aging, this organization on the west side in Santa Monica, they do lots of caregiver trainings, and this is for family and professional caregivers. I was leading a telephone support group, and one of the gentlemen is caring for his wife who has Alzheimer's, and he said, is there a place that I can go where I can be taught how to properly bathe her? You don't know how to do those things, right? You know, when was the last time you ever had to properly lift someone out of a tub? How to roll someone in a bed? If you're not a nurse, you don't have that training. So these are caregiver trainings for family and professional caregivers. Education and resources. You took one good step, you showed up today. There's resources out on the back. We did a pretty good comprehensive list of websites. I have it here because we wanted to make sure that you all got it. So maybe we can find a way that we can pass these out, or as you leave, we can have a person at each store actually handing you these. It's a good list of resource websites, all caregiver focused, different ailments, different conditions, but I want to make sure that you do get that. Self-care and wellness. Oh yes, please. Yes, of course.
Okay, because some of these relate to particularly with UCLA. I don't know how many of you know about like the Mindful Awareness Research Center. I did put flyers there. They have classes, workshops, drop-ins, whether Westwood or Santa Monica, because we do one in Santa Monica. There's also online, and this is a lot of taking care of you. That's what we talked about. So you could also just download meditations, taking 5 minutes, taking 10 minutes, taking care of yourselves. Another whole thing, which particularly if you're on campus, is UCLA Fit Well. There's a lot of programs through the UCLA Fit Well program, whether it's classes, workshops, a lot online, a lot of guides. Again, it's how do you take care of yourself as you're caring about someone who in your family or a friend. I also wanted to mention, which Monica was talking about with professional counseling. We have, and I got flyers on that one, UCLA Staff and Faculty Counseling Center. As a staff person, we each get 3 free sessions, professional therapists. And they also do sometimes groups. They've done a lot with caregiving. Great to know about, so that it's something that you could benefit your immediate family. And also something which we have listed here is the whole UCLA family leave. A lot of times people need to take some time off. But what's important to know, and you could check with Human Resources with the whole family leave, there's ways to do it where you do it intermittently. I know somebody who what she's doing is once every other week, she's taking a day off, which is counted as UCLA family leave. So she's getting paid, it's covered. It's not that she's doing it every day within then the 3-month period. It's over time, and it works for her and it works for her family. She is a disabled child, and so this way she's able to help that child in terms of certain types of appointments and things like that. So it's something that's really important to be looking at, that there are resources within UCLA. And what I'm going to do is, even though we both are going to talk about this, I want us to move along because we want time for questions before you have to go back, so I'm going to scooch along here. Adult day centers we've mentioned. This is when a person, particularly often with Parkinson's or dementia, there's some wonderful adult day centers around in the west side and other parts of the city, and it's a safe therapeutic environment for someone to be in. Often they also have additional caregiving services. They have a fee, and sometimes, as we mentioned before, some of them have relationships with the VA, so veterans could participate. Sometimes long-term care insurance will cover it. So it's something that's a real wonderful resource where during the day, someone could really be involved and not isolated, and also that you know if, let's say, you're working, that they're in a safe environment. Alzheimer's Association has amazing resources.
They're resource directories. It's an orange book that's out in the back. So if there aren't any more on the table, there's some underneath as well. So they have really good resources, again, all throughout LA County. They are also a national organization. So you can call the 800 number and they can transfer you to other chapters if, say, the person that you're caring for isn't local.
Something to mention, briefly, is clinical trials and research. Just today when I was listening to NPR, they said there is no cure, treatment, or anything that slows down the progress of Alzheimer's. A lot of the drug companies have some potential, what's called phase 3 in research, but nothing. Other diseases, this is the 6th killer for all of us, is Alzheimer's disease, and nothing that makes a difference in terms of a person's health and well-being. So a big thing is research. Mary Easton Center for Alzheimer's Disease Research at UCLA, the Longevity Center. There's a lot of different ways people can connect into some of the clinical trials. Might not make as big a difference in your family member's life, but it might be something that's going to help move it along, so then when we all get older, there might be treatments out there that are successful in terms of Alzheimer's and dementia. Support groups we've mentioned, there's some through the Mary Easton Center, also the UCLA Alzheimer's and Dementia Care Program has caregiver support groups and a wonderful program if your family member is a UCLA patient where they're able to see a geriatric care manager. And I've already mentioned with UCLA Health that we do a lot of we have geriatricians, we have people who do a lot of work in terms of diagnosing what's going on for people. Okay, I think we've said a lot of this. Each family is unique. That's why we'd have to chat with each one of you individually to see what is it that you need, what does your family need. And we wanted to give an overview to help you sort out how do you even begin looking for resources. But as we talked about so strongly, assessments are so key to figuring out what's needed. You got to find out what's going on. Proper tools we've talked about, assessments, resources, services. And we're hoping that by gaining knowledge, going to classes, going on websites, by the way, AARP has some wonderful resources for caregivers. They really have gotten many more books and knowledge and everything like that that'll help you as you decide what's right for you and your family members. And it gets complicated because something where the individual might say, I never want to go into a nursing home. Well, it might be that becomes the only option for the family to be able to maintain what it has to do. You know, it's not always easy to make hard decisions, as we know. And so getting the support you need and hearing from other people, going to caregiver support groups, getting help with a therapist, many different ways of looking at things, calling either one of us and say, do you know any resources about XYZ? Hopefully we'll be able to be of help to you as you help your family members. Questions? Any questions in about 7 minutes? Yes.
The conservatorship, how do you start?
How do you start conservatorship?
Okay, I would go to an attorney. You want to, because one of the things you want to do is you want to make, the question was, how do you start a whole thing with conservatorship? My suggestion is to go to an elder law attorney because you want to make sure you're doing it the right way. And sometimes it's ultimately the family member will be designated as the conservator, or it could be a court-appointed conservator. But there's so many legal pieces to it, you don't just want to fill out a form and try to go to a judge. You know, you really want to go to an attorney to do it. Or, you know, so that would be something. We both know different elder law attorneys. I think they're also listed in the Alzheimer's book. I don't remember if it's here. Other questions? I'm sorry, yes?
Hi. Is it possible to make an appointment with you to kind of consult on particular cases on where we might, you know?
Sure, but I think we could even do it over the phone because I know I don't feel that I'm the best person to be a consultant except for general. I haven't worked as a care manager for 1,000 years. But you're welcome to give a call and we could chat and see who might be most helpful to you. And I know Monica has the same view because between both of us we have a lot of years of experience and we can at least really do like a mini assessment and then see who would be best to help. Yeah, our phone numbers were at the beginning of the I could say them again, I have to look them up. Okay, my phone number is 1-800-516-5323, and Monica's phone number is 310-794-3914. So, and please feel free to contact either one of us if we could be helpful to you and your family.
Before everybody leaves, just a second. We will try, and I responded to some of your emails, we will try to post the streaming, the whole session on the website, and I will be sending you the link. At the very least, if we cannot do it, there are some issues with, the security. If we cannot do it, well, at least we will be able to get the slides, right?
Sure.
At least we will get the slides, and I will post, and we will post, and I will send everybody the link. Okay?
No problem, I saw there was a hand, gentleman with blue.
I know you said everything is contextual or specific to your case, but in your experience, are there a couple of things that people tend to frequently overlook? You're like, someone comes to you, they're talking, you're going, not again.
Do you have a thought on it, not again, or it's really?
It's so individual. Honestly, there are times where I can get the same, oh my gosh, another family is coming through about this for 3 times in 1 week. And then it won't happen again for 3 years. So it really is interesting how, pretty much anything that you can say, we at least have heard something in the realm of it. But there isn't anything, one of the big things that I always get, just because I'm more Alzheimer's dementia focused, is, well, mom's been diagnosed with dementia. And well, what do I do? Well, get her an actual diagnosis, because that's not an actual diagnosis. So that's what I get a lot. I get lots of the questions of, oh, mom's doing this. Is there behavioral problems, behavioral tricks and things that we can do to try to help modify the behaviors? But again, everyone in every family is so different that it really is challenging to give a straight answer.
Where I would say, hearing from some of the elder law attorneys, what happens is they don't get called till there's a crisis. So anyone who could do any planning ahead really makes a big difference of what the options are for the individual, for the whole family, because if people wait till there's a crisis, well, we all know that doesn't always mean that you're getting exactly what you want, or things become a little chaotic. So the fact that you're here, grabbing resources, contacting folks, that will make a difference.
And also just to let you know, I know it's coming up, you have about 2 minutes left, but Ashar and I both can linger if anyone has any questions, and if you need any questions, we both can linger in terms of our schedules. So please feel free. I know we both have cards. I don't have as many as I thought I had, but please feel free to reach out to both of us if you have any questions or any concerns as well. And thank you very much to Svetlana and the staff assembly for having us here. It's been a pleasure. Happy to help.
And please, guys, watch out for the future emails about the Lenart lunches. I'm no longer in charge, but we will have many more interesting events. Thank you.